In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to install the Tippmann M4 velocity lock. We're first going to start off by extending our stock a little bit, and then from there, with the included wrench that you get with your rifle, you're going to want to loosen up this castle nut on your buffer tube assembly. So you want to make sure that you have that wrench fully engaged into those lugs before you start turning. You can very easily strip that. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that loosened up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of rotate the gun real quick. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to maintain some pressure on the sling plate, and then just go ahead and back off that castle nut while still maintaining that pressure on the sling plate. Just like on the real M4, there's a spring and a detent that holds your takedown pin. So once you have that castle nut backed off, you can go ahead and kind of relieve a little bit of pressure off that sling plate. And you can rotate the stock a little bit. And then you'll see that you have your spring sticking out of the back of the receiver right here. Now typically what I do is I don't like to take out the whole assembly. So what I'll do is just kind of invert the gun and let that spring kind of slide out a little bit. Give it a little shake, and you should be able to push this pin from the opposing side and then take it completely out, just like I did right there. So this is your stock takedown pin. Go ahead and take that out. And then what we'll do is we'll put our velocity lock pin into the receiver. So you're going to take your velocity lock pin, we're going to go ahead and put it into the receiver. And here's a pretty critical portion. You'll see that you have that groove. You want to make sure that that groove lines up with that detent and the spring. Okay, so that's critical. If not, your pin's not going to lock into the receiver once you have everything buttoned up. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we got that lined up correctly. Go ahead and seat it, and then from there what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to getting that pressure back onto the spring. Now you want to be really careful because you can, shoot this spring across the room. So we're going to go ahead and rotate our buffer tube. Now that we have retention back onto our spring and detent with the sling plate, I'm going to go ahead and hold that sling plate in place and tighten up our castle nut. Try to get that as tight as possible by hand. Make sure that that sling plate is seated into the back of the receiver. Just go back to tighten that by hand, and then you can come back in with your wrench. Like I said, make sure you get those lugs fully engaged there so you don't strip your castle nut. And then just go ahead and tighten it back down. Now you don't have to apply a whole lot of force to this. I mean, it's not like a real M4 where it has to be torque spec or anything like that. Just nice and tight. Hand tight is sufficient. And that's how you install the velocity lock on the Tippmann M4.